This video is only for educational and entertainment purposes. This content is a dubbed and voice-over edited version.
After a long journey deep inside the forest, the man finally reached an open place surrounded by tall trees. His shoulders were heavy with all his survival materials, but he never stopped walking. Beside him, his loyal dog stayed close, carefully moving through the wet ground. The rain had just stopped, but everything was still soaked. The earth was soft, the stones were wet, and small drops still fell from the leaves above. The air was cold and silent, with only the sound of distant dripping water echoing through the forest. Every step he took felt like a journey deeper into nature's hidden world. He slowly placed his materials down, looking around the open space. It felt peaceful, like nature itself was watching him quietly. After the storm, this place didn't feel dangerous anymore. It felt alive, calm, and pure. And in that silence, both the man and his dog stood together in the heart of the forest. The man slowly arrives at an open place deep in the forest, his dog walking quietly beside him. The ground is still wet after the rain, and the whole area feels calm and silent. He places his tent and all his materials on the soft, damp earth. There is no rush, only peace in his movements. One by one, he picks up the wooden sticks for the tent. Carefully, he starts arranging them, fixing each piece with steady hands. His dog stays nearby, watching quietly as he works. Step by step, the frame begins to form. The structure rises slowly in the middle of the open forest. Then he spreads the tent cloth over the frame and adjusts it properly, making sure everything is stable and strong. Finally, the tent stands completed, firm and quiet in the middle of nature, as the forest remains still after the rain. The man slowly arrives at an open place deep in the forest, his dog walking quietly beside him. The ground is still wet after the rain, and the whole area feels calm and silent. He places his tent and all his materials on the soft, damp earth. There is no rush, only peace in his movements. One by one, he picks up the wooden sticks for the tent. Carefully, he starts arranging them, fixing each piece with steady hands. His dog stays nearby, watching quietly as he works. Step by step, the frame begins to form. The structure rises slowly in the middle of the open forest. Then he spreads the tent cloth over the frame and adjusts it properly, making sure everything is stable and strong. Finally, the tent stands completed, firm and quiet in the middle of nature, as the forest remains still after the rain. After finishing the tent, he takes a slow look around the forest. The air is still damp, and the ground shines slightly from the remaining rainwater. His dog stays close, quietly moving around the area as if checking the surroundings with him. Everything feels calm, but alive. He gathers a few dry materials nearby and brings them back to the tent, placing them neatly beside it. The forest is silent except for the soft dripping of water from the trees. For a moment, he stands still, looking at his small shelter in the middle of the vast forest. It feels simple, but safe. Then he begins securing the tent. He moves around it slowly, checking every side carefully. The forest is quiet, with soft drops still falling from the trees. Knowing the wind can become strong, he takes strong ropes and ties them tightly to the tent structure. One by one, he fixes each corner, making sure everything is stable and firm. He anchors the ropes with stones and sticks from the forest floor, pulling each knot tight with patience and focus. Slowly, the tent becomes stronger, more stable, ready to face wind and weather. Finally, he takes one last look around. His small shelter now stands fully secured in the heart of the forest, safe, steady, and quiet after the rain. After securing the tent, the man begins bringing all his materials inside the shelter one by one. The forest air remains cold and fresh after the rain, while the soft sound of dripping water continues in the background. His loyal dog stays beside him, playfully moving around and enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. For a few moments, the man smiles quietly and plays with his companion, sharing a calm moment deep in the wilderness. Once everything is safely placed inside the tent, he starts preparing his small smokeless stove. Carefully, he places the chulla in the proper position, making sure the area is safe and organized. With calm and experienced movements, he fixes each part slowly and properly. Then he takes the smoke pipe and begins attaching it to the stove.
Step by step, he adjusts the pipe carefully, guiding it out through the side of the tent so the smoke can escape safely into the cold forest air. Soon, the setup is complete. The small shelter now feels warmer, safer, and more prepared for the long night ahead. Outside, the forest remains wet and silent, while inside the tent, a quiet feeling of comfort slowly begins to grow.
After preparing the stove inside the tent, the man quietly reaches for his axe and steps back out into the forest. The cold air feels heavier now, and dark clouds slowly begin to gather above the trees once again. His loyal dog follows closely beside him, never leaving his side as they walk through the wet ground and scattered stones. The man searches carefully among the trees before finding a large piece of wood resting near the forest floor. With calm and steady effort, he begins cutting the heavy wood into manageable pieces. The sound of the axe echoes softly through the silent wilderness. Piece by piece, the large wood becomes smaller, ready to be used for warmth through the night. As he continues working, light rain slowly begins to fall again. Small drops touch the leaves above, and the quiet forest once again fills with the peaceful sound of rain. Without rushing, the man gathers the chopped wood and carries it back toward the tent. His dog walks faithfully beside him through the rain, staying close in the cold wilderness. Finally, they return to the shelter together, bringing warmth and comfort back into their small home deep inside the forest.
The man carries the wet wood back inside the tent, placing it carefully near the small stove. Outside, the rain continues to fall softly over the quiet forest, while inside the shelter, a feeling of warmth slowly begins to return. His loyal dog stays close beside him, playfully moving around as the man prepares the wood for the fire. For a moment, the cold wilderness feels peaceful and alive with simple companionship. Sitting calmly inside the tent, he begins cutting the larger wood into smaller pieces. Each movement is slow and careful, the sound of the blades softly mixing with the rain outside. Once enough wood is prepared, he gently places the pieces inside the chullo one by one. The small stove now sits ready in the center of the shelter, waiting to bring warmth to the cold night. The man carefully starts the fire, protecting the small flame as it slowly catches the dry wood. Little by little, the fire begins to grow stronger. Soon, the soft orange glow fills the tent, and the sound of crackling wood mixes peacefully with the rain falling outside. In the middle of the cold forest, the small shelter now feels warm, safe, and full of quiet life. Inside the tent, the warm fire slowly burns while the rain continues falling outside. Evening quietly settles over the forest, and little by little, darkness begins to cover the trees. The soft orange glow from the fire fills the small shelter, creating a peaceful feeling in the middle of the cold wilderness. The man calmly takes out his materials and begins preparing tea beside the warm stove. His loyal dog stays close to him, happily playing around inside the tent while the rain taps softly against the fabric outside. As the cold evening grows darker, the man takes his damp clothes and carefully warms them near the fire. Steam slowly rises from the fabric as the heat spreads through the shelter. Soon, the tea is ready. He quietly pours it and sits beside the warm fire, enjoying the peaceful moment deep inside the forest. Outside, the rain continues falling through the dark trees, but inside the small tent, there is warmth, comfort, and silence shared between the man and his faithful dog.
After spending some quiet time beside the warm fire, the man slowly opens the tent and steps outside for a moment. The rain has become lighter now, and the dark forest feels calm and peaceful under the night sky. He quietly looks around at the wet trees and listens to the soft sounds of nature surrounding him. Cold air moves gently through the forest before he returns back inside the warm shelter. Inside the tent, he takes out some meat that he had brought with him for the journey. Slowly, he begins cooking it over the warm stove while the fire crackles softly nearby. The rich smell of food soon fills the small tent, and his loyal dog waits patiently beside him. Once the meat is ready, the man shares some of it with his faithful companion, enjoying another peaceful moment together deep in the wilderness. After eating, he carefully removes his wet shoes and places them near the fire to dry. Then he takes out his sleeping mat and lays it down inside the tent. The fire continues glowing softly as the cold forest night grows quieter outside. Finally, the man lies down beside his dog, resting peacefully after a long day in